Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Life number 172 for the 21st of October, 2020. And how is everyone today? I hope you're good. And let's get to who's joining us. As per usual, we have Mr. Casey Green joining us from DC. How are you today, sir?
Doing pretty well. Shout out to my little sister. Happy birthday.
Very good. Very good. Some birthday wishes.
Yeah.
Very good. And also with us, as per usual, Mr. Patrick Connor. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Hello, everybody out there enjoying the Tesla life. It's a good place to be today.
Exactly. And it's looking sunny in Oregon again.
Yeah. Well, part of it might be I also have this new monitor right here. So
it's throwing up a bazillion lumens. Yeah. Well, it looks like sunshine anyway, so good for you.
Yeah, it is a nice day today.
Well, of course, today, just ending just a little while ago, was the earnings call for Q3 for Tesla. And I'm not going to ruin the surprise. We're going to let Patrick tell us the big story in front of us. What happened there, Patrick?
Yes, Tesla's best quarter ever. That is awesome. Yes, and I should disclose I am a Tesla shareholder, long Tesla. I've had it since the IPO, and it's been awesome. So yes, so they had record deliveries, record revenue, GAAP, non-GAAP. It was a great quarterly meeting with the analysts. And I've got just a few notes here. If you want to listen to the whole thing, it's you can go to ir.tesla.com and find the replay. And they also put it on YouTube this year, which is nice because it's a much better media player than whatever thing they were using before. So here's a few nuggets from that meeting. They did a quick recap of Battery Day and also mentioned that they were going to keep iterating. So what they disclosed there, there's going to be a lot of changes and improvements going. They have the full self-driving beta that was released this week. One of the interesting quote from Musk there was, "The world is a complex and nasty place." So they're going to release it slowly and cautiously. Musk also talked about how there are millions of drivers out there testing and training the system. And it does not require HD maps. It does not require cell phone connection. You can go into some place that it's never seen before, and if it's trained on something similar enough, it'll drive right through it, no problem. Unlike other systems that are HD map dependent, and there's always things that are changing, and construction, and so those are fragile systems that will break. Another nugget was they mentioned that both Berlin and Austin are expected to have vehicles coming out next year. Now, of course, that's going to be low volume as they start ramping. It takes 12 to 24 months to get the volumes up. And Musk described the factory, he said, it's an S-curve. Well, actually, it's thousands of interdependent S-curves. That's how you have to think about the ramp. So it's going to start slow. But both of those online next year, that's awesome. Next, a couple comments from Zach Kirkhorn, their CFO. He said that the double-digit margins are continuing. Local deliveries are helping. The performance of the company has meant that some of the CEO stock tranches that were approved are being released. And the cool thing about that is even with that, which when they issue stock to any executive, in this case it's going to Musk, and it's a lot, that hurts their GAAP profitability, and you have to account for that. Even though the way that it works is they're creating the shares and issuing them to Musk, and then Musk is probably going to hold them, so it's not like they're going to dilute shareholders. They're not going to be in the float. So there's really it's not like a real revenue impact to the company, but the way that GAAP accounting, you can't just make these things out of thin air, even though that's literally what they do. So I was thinking that their GAAP numbers were not going to be record revenue because of that, but they still were. So that was awesome to hear. They expect capital expenses to continue because of Berlin and Austin build out and expansion in Shanghai. That's good. All the money that they raised through their stock. That's exactly what we want them to do with it, is to build those factories and to grow their capabilities and put more cars on the road. That's exactly what they should be doing with that. So that was good to hear. They had R.J. Johnson from Tesla Energy speak, and this is the first time I've heard him on the call. And it was nice to actually have Tesla Energy getting some attention instead of just being an afterthought. And they talked about how solar plus storage is now more cost effective in many parts of the world than fossil fuels. And you know me, I want a future free from fossil fuels. There it is. I'm going to sneak it in every time. He also mentioned how they have a large Powerwall backlog of orders, and I'm one of those. It made electricity is cheap here and pretty reliable, but when there are blackouts or blizzards or you want to run your air conditioner in the summer, not be putting a load on the grid, there's a whole lot of really cool things you can do when you have solar, which we do, and then you get battery backup on your house. That I can't wait. So yep, I'm one of those. But okay, next on the list, they went to the Q&A section, and I just have a few notes on this. When they were talking about solar roof, Musk said, well, think about the future that you want. And that's the kind of future that Tesla's trying to deliver. And that includes a roof that generates electricity for you, a beautiful roof. So that was cool to hear. That just sums up Tesla's whole mission. That's the Tesla life right there, a future that you want. Yeah, that's cool. One of the questions someone asked about other home products and will they expand into things like HVAC, and Musk started talking about how Tesla has the technology. They're doing things like this in the vehicles today, highly energy efficient heating and cooling and air filtration. And if they were to do this at the home level, they could even do water purification potentially. But then he said they have no plans yet. They haven't done any prototyping. But that it's cool to think that they could do yet more customer-facing products like that could help us have a better world, especially with the fires that we've had on the West Coast. Having a home air purification system would be great. Instead, I've got these ionic filters all over the house, and you have to have one or two in every room. Just a whole house system would have been much nicer. Next on the list was someone was asking about Tesla's Pilot battery line, and the comment came up that their Pilot line, if you were to compare it to the battery factories that are in existence today, it would be in the top 10. So Tesla's idea of a pilot line is bigger than some companies' idea of a factory. That was an interesting comparison. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're thinking hyperscale, not just oh yeah, we need to make some because we're going to build 40 cars to meet some minimum. Anyway, next question was about solid state. Someone said, hey, if solid state becomes the next great thing, how adaptable is your factory? And this was good to hear. Musk said that it is really electrolyte and even cathode and anode agnostic. So solid state really is just a change in the electrolyte from a liquid to a solid, and that's why solid state. So it's not like, oh, we have to just burn these factories and build new ones. No, not at all. It's relatively minor changes to change them over. And he talked about how they've already had some anode and cathode changes, and their factories are highly adaptable to that. That was cool. Only two more. Next was someone asked if LiDAR were free, would you have it on your car? and Musk said, free? Absolutely free? Still probably not.
Well,
that one's interesting because we've had that discussion on here before about are they avoiding LiDAR because it is high cost and they want to do mass production? And there were some votes in that camp, and others that were like, no, it's just not the right technology. It doesn't see multispectral, multi-wavelength. It can't detect things like the stoplight color, or if someone's turn signal or brake light comes on. I mean, it's so. The best solution, of course, is to have all of the above, and then have really great software to take the best of each and fuse those together in a smart way. But anyway, that's what Musk said, and that was an interesting.
Now, of course, that was a LiDAR salesman that asked that question, right?
Well, if he's going to give his product away, he's not a great salesman. There were a bunch of other questions I'm skipping, but the last point that I thought was interesting was someone said, "Cybertruck, how's that going?" And I thought Musk had an interesting answer to that. He said, "We are working hard to make it even better than what we showed when we unveiled it." And he said other car companies do the opposite. They have these incredible prototypes that they bring out at shows, and then when it actually goes to production, it's just nowhere near as cool as that. It doesn't have the edge or the style. It's just way more bland and boring than what they showed off in their prototype. Tesla wants it to be exactly the opposite of that. I thought that was a cool answer.
That's good to hear. Absolutely. Yeah. And that continues the trend. Tesla has always made their cars better than the prototype that's been shown on stage in performance, in range, in looks, in abilities. So I'm glad that continues to be the case. The under promise and over deliver is always a winner for consumers.
Absolutely.
Model S, that one was compared the initial Model S to the beta. That thing was hideous.
Yeah, and it just fits with their ethos of once they have a product out, they continue to make it better. Software updates or changes to that's how they don't wait for model years. They roll out changes when they come up with them and when they fit, and it's just part of their who Tesla is. That's really cool.
Yeah. Exactly, and the really exciting news is that, as you mentioned at the top, this is their 5th quarter of profit. This has never been done by Tesla before. They're all in uncharted territory, because once they went beyond a year, it's just never been done. So again, we talked about Tesla in the blue sky. I see nothing but more blue sky for the next quarter. I see them breaking that 500,000 vehicle market that they've put out in front of themselves, with some of the stories we have this week, even talking about the ramp up that's going on and the cars being delivered in different areas is up and more up. So
right. Yeah, and they're profitable while they're spending billions to build these 2 simultaneous massive factories.
In cash.
Yeah, exactly. So think about next year when those factories are mostly done, and they're not spending as much on them. They're still growing them and improving them, but they're not like buying the land and paying thousands of contractors. And yeah, so it's like you said, the future looks bright.
Yep, absolutely.
Smooth jazz and Polynesian elevator music.
That's smooth. Absolutely. Exactly.
Yeah, but we should say we're not giving financial advice. No. We're not advisors. We're not liars. But we're fans. And
you say lawyers or liars?
Yeah, we're neither.
You said yeah.
That's a good dance around. Absolutely. Well, let's go to another story. Last week we had a call in. This week we had a Twitter in. So one of our Twitter fans sent us a question. They didn't record it, but I'd like to ask you out there, if you have a question or comment about Tesla, 90 seconds or less, please record it in your own voice, put it in a file on your iPhone, whatever, and then email it to us. TheTeslaLife@outlook.com, and we can play it on the show. But I spoke to a Twitter follower from Spain. And what was interesting is they were kind of commenting about the lack of superchargers in Spain. Now, Spain's not a great large country. Currently, there's 32 active superchargers. There's 2 under construction. There's 2 under permit. And looking at the map, it certainly shows that they're well spaced. It looks like they could cover definitely the nation, and of course the ability to get in and out to other countries in Europe through the entire network. So I had just prompted that user and just said, you realize that 99.9% of your travel most likely will be covered by home charging. And that is a point that this person, I don't think, comprehended when we got down to talking about the specifics of their situation, is that, for daily life, for driving to job, to back, going to friends, shopping, whatever, it's all well within the range of any Tesla that's sold, regardless whether it's a standard range plus or a long range Tesla. But their thought was extended holidays, being able to leave the country. In Europe, you could travel many different places, different countries. But when you look at the map of the Superchargers, they're all designed and spaced properly so that you can leave the country you're in and get back to it. So it's just a point that some people that have never had a Tesla or an electric car at all may be missing the fact that they're thinking that the charging network is what they'll rely upon most. And if you have your own place or access to a plug at your own place, that is not the case. You will be charging the vast majority of time at home. And besides a long trip here and there that I've made over the past 2 years, all of my charging has been done in my driveway or in my garage. And that's just the fact of it. And I just wanted to have Patrick and Casey chime in as to their situations.
I'll let Patrick start, because mine flipped.
Okay. Interesting that you mentioned Spain, because my friend Gonzalo lives in Italy, and he has family in Spain. He was my fifth referral. He bought a Model X, and so he drives from Italy to Spain a couple times a year to see his family, and he does it in his Tesla. And he's able to make that no problem. In fact, so he has, the situation is almost identical. He got his X, and then his wife got a 3, and that's exactly what we did here. Is I drive an X, my wife drives a 3, and both of our wives are thinking, the Model Y is pretty nice. We want one of those. Can we trade in our 3? So. Yeah, you can go to supercharge.info and click on map, and they're all over the place. And Africa is certainly missing a few, but look at where you live, and there's probably more than you think. And especially what Mark said, people tend to, if you haven't driven an electric car before, you have the gas station model in mind because that's how you fueled up in the past. But if you can plug it in home, you start out every day with a, quote, full tank. And that's just awesome. And so for all those commutes and errands and whatever, there's nothing more convenient than plugging it at home. Think about your cell phone. If you had to go once or twice a week to some cell phone fuel station, that'd be a pain in the neck. But people do that with their cars, and that's what they are used to. And so they don't think of it as a pain in the neck, but it is. It really, really is.
Exactly. Casey, what about your situation?
So mine is unique. It changed a little bit. So I started out, I have a 100 amp connection in the garage at my house, but I don't live at my house. So every morning I'd wake up and the car was ready to go. I could come in very late at night, come in like 2 in the morning, have to turn around at 5, 6 in the morning, go back to work, and the car could be, in the red. But boom, it's at my set point, 80, 90% ready to go. And then I moved to this apartment complex. I do have a wall plug available to me, but when they started doing renovations on the parking garage, my extension cable is very much the same as what the construction crew was using, so I didn't want it to walk away. So I started using purely Superchargers and Opportunity J1772 charging. So like if I'm at the grocery store or the mall or whatever, I would top it off there. And it's a lot less convenient, but it still is quite workable. And mind you, I have on either direction of me, I live on a major thoroughway. So either direction of me, in 15 minutes each way, I've got a supercharger. But I don't recommend using them that way. It's less convenient because now you're having to go out of your way. Oh, I have to go to the gas station. In this case, I have to go to the supercharger. You have to make a special trip. It's just not worth it. So, I mean, this place here offered to install level 2 chargers, and then of all of us EV owners here, nobody ever pushed them hard enough to actually get them to pull the trigger on it. So.
But it's definitely more difficult if you don't have your own garage.
Yeah, but even then, I'm not necessarily reliant on the Supercharger network. There are plenty of level 2 chargers, which would take a long time, and plenty of third-party DC fast chargers, so I can hook up my CHAdeMO adapter and deal with that if I had to.
Yes.
But then in the town that I came from, Charleston, South Carolina, they are finally getting a V3 supercharger, which is their first supercharger. And a lot of the club members...
Now that you're gone.
Yeah, now that I'm gone. A lot of the local club members are like, oh, this is great, we finally got one, but I'll never use it. And I'm like, exactly, you'll never use it. But what that now allows is, because what happened before was, for a resort town with Charleston, you could come in, but you're stuck. And what I kept explaining to the local politicians, the local tourism board, to Tesla themselves, is, hey, if people are in range of a day trip, but they're going to be stuck in the city, they're going to go to another city like Savannah or similar to Charleston.
Absolutely.
Where they're not going to be stuck. And they can get in and out. Because if you do the Charleston, it's no longer a day trip. You're going to have to either already have the CHAdeMO adapter, or you're going to have to stay an evening in the hotel and pay them a night at the hotel, pay them to use the supercharger, pay them to use the destination charger, tip the valet. It's a racket. And so then I also added that, not only now can people come in and out of Charleston. Say you get an emergency trip. Say you charge to just the bare minimum. You charge to 50% because, plague times. You don't have anywhere to go. And your one errand is fine. But all of a sudden you get a call from family and you need to go. Or say you're the backup to the person who's on call at work. And now you need to get out. So now you don't have to worry about, oh man, I gotta set the charge, I got only 1 hour, I gotta hope it gets there. No, you just pull over on your way out of town, hit the supercharger up for 15 minutes, and you can now make it to the next one.
Yep.
Yep, so that's something to keep in mind if you haven't owned an electric vehicle before or a Tesla. It's something that it's very doable. It's just a question of looking around and understanding how your car gets fueled differently than what your gasoline car does. So something to consider as you head down the electric road.
Yeah, I think that's one place where Mark and I were spoiled. You had to tough it out, Patrick, with that Leaf. But Mark and I, we started with plug-in hybrids. So you had that same daily short range, just like always running on red, and then you had a built-in backup if you needed it.
Exactly. I was making it work with 40 miles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. The change in mindset is important. Casey mentioned something there, like how you could just stop for 15 minutes and that would be enough. I think a lot of people, because they're used to that gas station mentality, also think, oh, if I stop to charge, I got to fill it up. And you don't. Use the 80-20 rule, and don't go below 20% and don't charge above 80%. Because the charging slows down when you get above 80, and it's more wear and tear on your battery. So if you don't need it, don't do it.
Yep. And what I do is at 80, it slows way down, like less than half. Less than half of full speed.
The rate.
So what I do is, if it's yellow, I start planning out what I'm going to do next. Where am I going to charge? What do I need to? Is it ready for lunch or a bathroom break? Blah blah blah. And what I do is, if it gets red, I don't want to park and leave red more than 5-10 minutes. So if it's red, I want to make sure that I've parked at the charger, and then from there I just keep on rolling. So the car has about the same endurance as I do for the biological brakes as when it gets hungry.
That's a very good point. Yep. Your range only has to be one bladder.
Yeah, one bladder or one empty stomach.
Measure the trip and bladder fills. Exactly.
My favorite is when you're going to when you do pull over, plug in, and you go to get your food, and like you are like next in line, and the car's texting you, well, just pop-up message on the app, hey, come on, I'm gonna charge you extra if you wait too long, and you're like, I'm next in line. Let me eat. You already ate.
Just crank the AC up, then it.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't tell anybody I said that.
speaking of long journeys, there was a story recently in Teslarati about the record holder in a Tesla for the most mileage. And this gentleman, Hansorg Germeng, he bought a Model S P85 in 2014. And this man does an incredible amount of driving. He has now topped the 1.2 million kilometer mark and now holds the world record, the Guinness World Record for the most miles traveled in a Tesla. And that's just an incredible testament to the car's use and, of course, the ability for the longevity of these vehicles. The Tesla battery, the motor. Can you imagine, like, not many gasoline cars make it to the point where they're over, 500,000 miles, let alone he's now approaching 800,000 miles. So fantastic story here. We'll have it in the show notes if you'd like to read more detail to it. But man, what a feat! I can't imagine driving that much. I love driving my Tesla, but I just cannot imagine driving that much to reach 1.2 million kilometers. It's beyond me as to how you could drive your car that far, that long. You'd have to have I guess you're a traveling salesman at that point if you're driving those type of miles.
Yeah, I'd say that I'm slightly over that amongst all of my cars.
Oh, in your entire lifetime?
Yeah, exactly.
Why does he drive so much? Does it say what he does? He has wanderlust?
He does have something in sales, so
okay.
he's traveling. Yeah.
Job. So I know at half of that they're talking about the car manufacturers always trying to buy the car back for A, for the publicity, and B, so they can tear them down and see how well they did and what needs fixing. So for this to just keep on trucking like that is pretty cool.
Yeah, Tesla can just pull all the diagnostic data over.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't need to. They have the data. Yeah, absolutely. It's at the mothership already. Next, there's been a bit of a change in the 80-20 rule, as Patrick has mentioned. We would talk about charging up to 80%. Recently, a Chinese customer who has purchased a made-in-China Model 3 SR Plus with the new batteries, with the ones that have the new composition to them, not the 4680s, but the I guess it would be the cattle type batteries that have less cobalt in them, was told by a service that in some cases he should be charging up to 100% at different occasions to fluctuate the battery's abilities, and it wouldn't be bad for the battery at all based on the new chemistry that's in it. And this is a interesting point because when I purchased my car over 2 years ago, and I had asked the experts that were at the delivery center about the charging, everyone's idea was a little bit different, but it got more concise as time went along. And eventually they settled basically on, you basically charge the car to 80 or 90%, somewhere in that range. And that's where you should sit depending on how much mileage you drive during the day. And of course, as Patrick had mentioned, you try not to drive it down into the red zone. You keep the car above the red zone. You charge in the middle, 80-20. But this is interesting that this particular Chinese owner was instructed that the car should be charged to 100% a few times. And that's new. And it may be because of the new battery. This may be something that's coming based on the different chemistry. But I just wanted to point that out this week.
Yeah, I would say it's definitely related to the different chemistry. Just like with the old NiCad batteries, for instance, you shouldn't charge an old NiCad battery before it reaches zero. You reach zero, then you plug it up to 100% and run it down again. Otherwise, you get a memory effect where it would lose capacity if you did partial charges. But with the nickel metal and most of the composition of the lithium ions, you actually want to keep them in between 80 and 20%, sometimes 90, depending on how tolerant they are. And this particular lithium ion chemistry seems to be fine at 100%.
Yeah, so this may be, and of course we've got a later story about how these Model 3s are now being shipped from Shanghai to Europe.
Yeah.
So that's coming up too. So it may be required that you kind of know what car you have. You kind of know what the battery chemistry is. I know in the beginning when the Model 3 was first released, we were the first group to receive it here in Ontario. There was a lot of confusion. People didn't really know what the proper amounts were. And as I said, the message got more concise as time went along. But I don't know what the delivery experience is like today or in China or with the different batteries, but is this type of data being given to the owners before they leave? Is this type of data available to owners in some sort of, a video or something to let them know? I'm not sure if it is. I haven't heard anything about that particularly. Maybe this is something that Tesla needs to work on a little bit about messaging about new car packages, things of that nature.
I have a feeling this will show up in your About page soon, whether you've got a typical lithium ion or if you've got the iron phosphate. Just like they say, which types of motors you have and which computer you have in the About screen.
Yeah.
And then I have a feeling they might also tie in because on the typical Tesla cells, if you try and charge to 100% too many times in a row, say you go on a trip and forget to bring it back down, after about the third or fourth time that it tries to just tear its battery to pieces, it says, hey, you should probably think about lowering this limit down, and it'll even flip the page up and guide you to how to do that. So I'm wondering if this one will say, hey, you haven't charged 100% yet on this iron phosphate. You should probably, and they just guide you to go back to 100%.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there are times where you want to do a 100% charge and it can balance the pack. Mm-hmm. Those are. It used to be really important with lithium ion, but the battery management systems have gotten so much better that it might be something you have to do once a year or every other year now. And it could just be that. So this is from a customer support account in China, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a battery engineer expert. It could just be, oh, this is something I read on Battery University, and I thought I should tell customers this.
Could be.
So. So I don't know how much credibility it has. I don't know that I would change behavior. There were some early Model 3s that would start reporting some really erratic range values, and the official answer from Tesla was, if you see this, charge to 100%, make sure you drain it to at least 50%, and then do another 100% charge, and that should get rid of the problem. And I think that was just their battery management system was getting confused, or the pack wasn't balanced, and it was causing problems. And there have been subsequent software updates that fix that and resolve that problem. And so it's not surprising you might want to do an occasional 100% charge. But when you do, make sure that that's right before you leave on a trip and you're going to drain the battery some. You don't want to leave it at that. Even if you do, for whatever reason, want to charge it to 100%. I have before road trips a couple times, and so what I do is overnight I'll charge it to 90%, and then that morning when I'm getting up and I get packing, I plug it in, let it charge to 100 while we're getting ready, and then when we hit the road, it hasn't been setting at 100 for very long, if at all.
Yeah.
And they're really sophisticated what they do. I've actually got some software and some hardware that let me look in and see what my system is doing, and it's within millivolts across all 9,000 cells.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Well, our second huge story of the week is a little bit old right now because it got released, of course, shortly after last week's show. But Casey's going to tell us about the refresh of the Model 3. What's happening there, Casey?
Yes. So the Model 3 has officially been refreshed. So for the 2021 model year, they kind of rolled over the year a little early, and they also included a slew of changes, not typical Tesla fashion, but it just seems that maybe they had enough parts ready to go, and it was already time enough that they could change over the years. So they took advantage of that. And so gone is the chrome trim. You get the black. Is it black satin or black gloss?
It's satin.
Okay, so black satin trim around the windows, and I think that the The decal on the back and the camera housing is gloss black though.
Yep.
Yeah, and then satin on the handles. You get a new center console. No longer does have a flip-up lid above the phones, which most people just left open anyway. And then for a lot of taller folks, the flip-up lid in the center console in the middle section would poke you in the knees. And now it slides like it does on the Model S and the Model X. And
yeah, I mentioned that last week when we first talked about this. How when I'm a passenger in my wife's car, it hits my knee, and how I might have to break her center console so that we can replace that one. Yeah.
And then your Tesla Cam USB port is now in the glove box, which
that was interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Which now that you have pin, so I made a video about this yesterday. You now have pin on your glove box, and so nobody can get into it without casually get into it. They have to kind of really get at it with a crowbar, and so you'll have copies of whatever's going on around your car, and that's just a little bit of it. So we also got rumors that it's got the heat pump. Some of the editions have new wheel styles, and they just did a number on the car, and it's
power trunk lid.
Oh yes, power trunk lid, and then
of course the favorite in Canada, a possible heated steering wheel.
Possibly heated steering wheel, and definitely a heated charge inlet.
Yes,
which happened before the refresh.
And dimming mirrors, side view mirrors, auto dimming
side view mirrors.
Dimming side view mirrors are back. Absolutely.
They should never left.
Yeah, number of things have been rolled. Now that we've spotted this car earlier in the week on trucks leaving Fremont, and there's been, of course, a few customer deliveries where people have now started taking pictures of the things that. But I haven't seen a heat pump picture yet in a Model 3. No one's taken the tub out of their frunk yet to show us the heat pump. So
your range is now 353 miles on the long-range dual motor. And the I think the 0-60 is about the same at 4.2 seconds. At least that's what it was on my Model S. And the performance has more range as well, but not quite 353.
Yep. So lots of stuff happening there. We'll certainly be sharing the pictures and updates that we come across on our Twitter feed, which is at the Tesla Life. If you haven't joined that already, please do. And also on our Facebook page, the Tesla Life #1. You can find us there on Facebook. So please join in if you can.
It looks like all the wheels changed. I like them all.
Yeah, the center hub has changed on the 19. They sent in that there might be a change in the 18s in the color, but the pattern looks the same. So not sure if that's the case or just lighting.
It might be paint like they do with my Model X, where like it went from all sonic carbon to little accents. So they might have done the same to that. It's not unheard of for them. And then the Model 3 red wooden car that had the awesome looking wheels on it. Those wheels are now finally in production on the performance car.
Right, 20-inch performance. Yeah, you get it with the performance now. So they are finally available. Next, also kind of tied with this is when this flurry of activity happened with the Model 3 update or refresh. A number of people started to receive the premium update refresh on their screens. They would receive the premium in connectivity, and we didn't know what was going on. And what it was found after a few days is that most of the people that were receiving the premium connectivity update just overnight on their car were people in Quebec, Canada. And what came to light is that there was a legal paper filed in Quebec about Tesla taking away the premium connectivity from people that had it from purchase. And they had it for a little bit of a time, and then of course it was taken away and put on subscription. And there was a legal paper filed, and I guess this is Tesla's way of addressing it. A number of people that had it previous have been given it back so that this legal paper goes away. it's a bit of a weird story because we even had reports that some people in the U.S. were having it, but we don't know for sure. But there was definitely a group of people in Quebec that were all talking about this. So it's maybe a back step for Tesla that's looking to handle a legal question. And at this time, they've rolled it back so that the connectivity works completely for these owners.
Yeah,
So,
they went from being able to purchase the monthly subscription to their online account. That just went away. And if they looked inside the car's app,
yep.
it would say included, as if, it was a hardware feature that they purchased. And a lot of them are thinking, like, it's almost time for me to pay for this thing. How can I pay? I don't want my radio to turn off. And little do they know, it's permanent.
It's now part of the. They've been rolled back to premium connectivity. So something to keep our eye on as time goes along. A lot of people thought it was a glitch, and of course it would be cleared up the next day or 2 days later. But that has not been the case. So interesting. Interesting.
If that's something that's now stuck to those particular units, or if it's like most Tesla software, where once it goes through the Tesla system again, that's gone.
Yeah. Well, another police department story, because that's what we do here, right?
Yeah.
We talk to the police departments. A police department in Vermont recently signed up for a Model 3 to add to their patrol car. And they quoted the reasons that as we spoke to Chief Todd in Indiana, they quoted the same things. The car is going to allow them to add police to their force, because it's going to pay for that policeman to be there. The reduction in maintenance and gasoline is going to save the department a ton of money, and that's what they will be doing with this car. So they bought one to try it out, but they're going by the facts and figures that we've seen published previously, and they believe it's something that's going to work for them. And they even mentioned in the article it wasn't their first choice. They were just going to buy the regular Dodge Charger that they typically buy, and the information was brought to light that this car can actually save the department money, and we can put that money for other resources that we need. And that's why they decided to make a change. So congratulations to this Vermont Police Department. You can read about the whole article in the notes that we will have attached to the YouTube here.
Yeah, I like that it seems that they've gone through the same calculations as Bargersville, but less enthusiastically.
Less enthusiastically, right? Yeah, but the same result. So hopefully their actual maintenance results will be the same as well. So we will see if this continues to be a trend. Hopefully so.
Yeah. So a huge tipping point happens when going green saves you green. Then you don't have to be one of the motivated 2% that cares about the environment. It's just selfish greed that'll make you do it. So whatever gets you there, great, because this is what we need as a species, for our planet, is to stop burning fossil fuels. So this is awesome.
Yeah, I'm curious about two things there. They didn't specify which model they went with. Other than obviously Model 3, but I'm curious which trim, because it said that they initially only would have worked with the Model 3 standard range, but it says that they took the initial purchase price out, but then it doesn't say what they went with. And then I'm curious...
if they took the initial purchase price out of the equation, I bet you they went for the long range.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's why they would make that statement, most likely.
Even if they didn't need it. But you would think that just they bumped themselves up to an SR Plus like Bargersville did, because, I mean, when you look at what a police car does, a lot of the time it's just sitting there running the air conditioner or the heater. And I'm curious, like Omar pointed out, is this a fleet car as far as, like, do multiple police hot seat it, or is it assigned to an officer who takes it home like Bargersville, where they... kind of baby it and wash it on their own, and they might be able to do a couple personal trips in it as long as they kind of park it with the police emblems hanging off the sides.
Exactly. And advertise that the police are here.
Yeah.
Well, changes happen in Tesla's policy for returns.
Yeah.
They have removed their 7-day policy where you could return the car for whatever reason and get your money back. This has disappeared recently without much fanfare. And I wanted to talk to you guys. What do you think about this new policy change? Is this hurt Tesla in any way? Is it something that may deter somebody from buying a car or not?
So I had two things that crossed my mind when this came up. Was one, this refresh, because now a lot of people would be, oh, I don't want that car, let me reorder it. And then the second one was perhaps they were being cheap in some way because, well, they're trying to save money. And someone else had pointed out that apparently people are buying and returning the cars. He said it was a big YouTuber problem. I've not seen this on YouTube, but it's a possibility. But I mean, you're a little late to the game if you're still doing that. I mean, you want to be one of the first ones with something, not 2-3 years later.
They could have been doing it with the Model Y.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm sure at least one person has done that.
Probably so. Some of them have some extra cash so they can pull that off.
Yeah. So I'm of two minds on this. I'm really I wish they would not have gotten rid of it, because if somebody has their car for a few days and they're not happy with it, I would rather that they take it back and go buy something else instead of complaining about Tesla isn't taking care of me and I'm not happy and I don't like this panel gap or this paint or whatever, and then just ranting about how horrible it is and how bad service is. Let's just get rid of those people. If they're not happy with it, fine. Go buy something you'll be happy with, because we should all be happy. And so there's that side. That's why I wish they would have kept it for that reason. And then on the other side, as a shareholder, I'm thinking, if somebody takes a car and then drives it for a few days and then takes it back, it's no longer a new car. You have to undo all the title stuff. This is all really expensive. And if it's, a full money back guarantee, then that means Tesla's eating all of that. And there's enough vehicles out there that you should know what you're getting into. You can go do test drives, and you can ride with your friends. You can read reviews, and most people are going to love it anyway. So from those on that side of it, it's like, well, they didn't really need this anyway. So I would really like to see how many people took advantage of it, and then what percentage and how much it was costing them before they have this data, and it was costing them enough that they decided they wanted to get rid of it, despite the first reason that they might want to keep it.
Yeah.
You brought up something that's a really good point here. This is they're going to be the quarter for them to make or break their 500,000. And with the way that the lease accounting counts, I assume that the cars that are still eligible for the 7-day return could also come back and bite them in the butt. And with the global deliveries all condensing around December 31st, for them to not count yet would be a huge problem. And
and we know it's going to be close to reach that 500,000 already.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point. Is it something that they don't want to take other returns at that time because it may count differently towards their total.
Yeah, and then someone else had pointed out maybe it was for quality control, but I mean they do have quality control concerns out there, but I don't imagine that they're widespread enough that it would be worth canceling this program for, because I can't imagine that it was so bad that this was incurring that many costs, because usually you just refuse delivery.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are some things that you can't see until you get off the lot, and then you fight with your local place if they think that you did it, or if you think that it is not normal for a car. But I mean, generally they do the right thing. It's just I can't imagine.
States still have lemon laws, so if you really do get a car that has serious problems, you've taken it back and they can't fix it, or the same problem comes back, then they all vary by state, but you still have some recourse. It's not like you have no option because they got rid of this. You have nothing that you can do about it. That's not true.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Next up, Casey's got something about an upgrade at the GigaFactory Nevada. As looks like things are being added to the roof.
Yes. So a few months ago, I had pointed out that the original GigaFactory Nevada, looked like a juvenile drawing, and it does less so now with the they had originally had a couple rows of solar panels on the roof, and they have substantially flushed them out. A few weeks ago, they put another couple rows up there, and then sometime in between a couple weeks ago and whenever these photos were taken, they have continued, and so it looks more like like what they promised us with the gleaming glass roof, where the glass is actually all solar photovoltaic cells.
Exactly. So it looks like they've pretty well doubled the solar panels on the roof at this point.
More than that.
And of course, the other thing is that the plant has started to use some geothermal as well. So and of course, in the original drawings, there was wind to be connected to it as well. There's no spinning turbines around the plant yet, but those were the three solutions that were given as to why the plant would not require a natural gas line or something else to power it.
Yeah, I'm curious if they invent their own wind turbine or if they buy one, because when you look at the way that SpaceX is using their motors, they could definitely invent their own. And so on that photo that you showed, the lighter area, the one that looked like it was like shaded, is the mounts for new panels, and the dark area are the panels. And I'm curious if a lot of folks have been complaining that if they have a flat roof, Tesla Energy tells them to go pound sand. I'm curious if now they have more experience with a flat roof, if they will have returned to servicing flat roofs, because they've got all the Walmarts that they service, and now they've got their own buildings. Or if that's something they're going to be reserving for commercial.
Yeah, good point. Are you sure there are no wind turbines? I just, in my mind, I'm seeing that the video where they have the wild
the horses running.
Yeah, the horses, and then they pan up and there's wind turbines there, and then they zoom down onto the Gigafactory.
If they were they Teslas?
Even if they're local utility, and that's who Tesla buys
if that's
their
where they're
power
getting it
from.
Yeah. You make a good point. Maybe I'm going back to the original drawings of it that had them all planted around the hills, around just on the outside of the actual building.
Yes, yeah. So Tesla had big ambitions for this plant, and it's not there, but a lot of things change, and you have to adapt your business with that, and they have now figured out how to make 7 times the batteries in the same amount of space using their dry electrode method. So we'll see if they even need to build the rest of that out.
Exactly. Yeah, that may be the case. Absolutely.
I think they probably will finish building it out when you consider that every other Gigafactory is full-sized except this one. What I'm curious, though, is do they wait for the technology to be ready to implement, and do they flush it out and put in the new equipment there and then phase out the existing lines and then fill that up? Or do they shut it down and load it up with the new stuff and then eventually finish it? Or, like Patrick said, do they want to finish it? It's just sit there like looking like a weird shape in the sand.
Right. Not the diamond aligned to true north.
Exactly. Whereas Berlin and Texas both are.
Well, with that, just a quick note to Tesla Energy. It was published this week that they now have over 120 projects worldwide that are active or starting to be active. And that's great to see. We talked about this when a small island republic received the first one to help power a hospital. It's certainly spread from that point to Australia, to Canada, to the United States, to Britain, to Germany. It's everywhere now. They're dotting the landscape, and those first ones certainly paving the way for others. So glad to see that Tesla Energy is starting to get their legs under them and start to move. And of course, a lot of that was tied to battery, what they could make, how many batteries they could make, what was supplied to the cars, what could be put in Powerwalls or mega packs, and that was limited certainly in the beginning, but it looks like things are starting to move, and that's great to see on that side of the business.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are really fundamental to having a stable grid with renewable energy, because renewable energy, you know, it's generated when the environment allows for the wind to blow or the sun to shine, and batteries are the nice buffer in between that take this erratic input and give you a nice steady stream of output.
Absolutely. Another quick note, we mentioned earlier in the show that the MIC, or the Made in China Model 3 is now being shipped to Europe for Q4. So cars produced in Shanghai are now being shipped over to Europe. They have about a 30-day window, and of course that's going to allow them to arrive just about 2 weeks before the end of the quarter. So there's going to be some excitement in Europe as a boatload arrives of hundreds of Model 3s that are being shipped there now and are on the seas now, actually. So again, it's starting to show this ramp up that's going on at Tesla factories that are getting their feet under themselves, and they are now being able to produce at higher and higher volumes. So again, and it doesn't hurt to have a second plant that can deliver to a market that is asking for the cars. And typically you can only send them there once a quarter because that's what your production schedule is from Fremont. They're supplying so many others. So good to see. And as we said, as you keep adding factories, man, this stuff just getting easier for Tesla, and the volumes continue to increase. So good to see.
That was one of the impressive things that they pointed out in the earnings call today, is that Fremont can now produce 500,000 Model 3 and Model Ys, and Shanghai has been upgraded to be able to do 250,000 Model 3s and Model Ys.
Yep. So it's really moving along. Absolutely. Our final story of the evening, Casey's going to take, and of course, he got the call, I'm sure. Casey, you got the call, right?
I did not get the call, but I did get a software update.
Damn.
and
what's happening now, or what started happening last night?
Last night, a few select safe drivers received both an NDA and a download of what they call city streets. This is what they're calling the full self-drive with no inputs required. And by no inputs, we don't mean no hands on wheel. We mean no corrections required, because you're still legally responsible to maintain control of the vehicle for the time being. And so we're curious when the first leaks will start. And then thankfully on the call, Elon said that more people will be receiving it this weekend, and they will continue to expand as they get data, which is been the way they've been running in the past. It's just that it did seem like this select group would have it exclusively for a little while longer than that. So I'm excited to see this thing expand, and I can't wait to see Tachikoma, which is what we call my Model X, start behaving a little more cohesively on the road.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll be excited to see the first leaks. Even though there is an NDA, that Tesla seems to like some action on this. So I think the NDA is almost kind of tongue in cheek.
I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust myself
I don't know if I
trust their lawyers.
But yeah, there's a lot of people that throw caution to the wind.
There are.
Right, and I think that's there if someone starts doing disparaging videos about
possibly.
their stuff. Then they hey, you have an NDA, buddy.
Right, but they've got high-powered lawyers. I wouldn't risk it. But at the same time, I'm also curious: is the first leaker going to be a customer, or is it going to be TeslaTwitter.com?
Yeah,
the official account often will just caution to the wind. Here's all the stuff.
Yeah. So this is the first rollout of their new 4D system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
4D sensor fusion.
Yeah. So I want to do some expectation setting. I obviously I don't work at Tesla, and I've never worked on this, but as someone who's had a long career in software, whenever you come out with a whole new architecture, there are some things that backslide a bit, and then you have to find them, and then you have to, oh yeah, okay, we know how to fix that. But when you have a mature system, and then you come out with a new system that has more capabilities, it starts at the lower end of its capabilities, and then you have to get there. So when you have a whole new architecture, I expect there to be some, like, oh, it used to do this well, and now it doesn't. So be cautious when you get it, and it's going to take it a few weeks, in my opinion, to be before it's great. I mean, it's going to start out and it's just going to be different, and then it's going to learn, and then it's going to get a lot better. And there's going to be a few updates before this is like, oh wow, this is so much better.
And we've seen that before with Tesla themselves, as they switched from AP1 to AP2. AP2 couldn't do jack that AP1 could do, and then slowly it started to get stuff in, and then AP 2.5 came out, and again, it couldn't do anything. Like, it couldn't even just cruise control. And
right.
So
Musk likes to talk about S-curves. And so this is called S-curve stacking. And so you have one S-curve that has this range capabilities, and after it's mature, it's at the top of that curve, but it can't really go any further. So then your next one is here, and it starts out lower, but its maximum is up here and more capable. So this is how things happen, and that means that there are going to be, when you get a new architecture, it's at the bottom of its capabilities and curve, and so things do get worse for a while. And like you said, AP1 to AP2, that was over a year before AP2 was as good as AP1. And obviously, this is, from a software version, it's not going to be that big of a backstep. But don't be surprised if there's some backsliding. And it's for the right reasons.
I suspect what we'll see is it'll be very much like when Hardware 3 came out, and we got our upgrades where you had to confirm the lane changes, you had to confirm basically everything that wasn't straight ahead with the radar and with the ultrasonics and the cameras. So, I mean, I don't know if everybody will have to do that, or if it's just these first two select groups that have to deal with the annoyance, but I imagine that, as Patrick said, they don't want the disparaging remarks out there, and so to keep some of the growing pains out might be the whole reason it's been locked up like this, rather than because it was incapable. Because Elon said he's been driving it for, 6 months now? So.
Mm-hmm.
On his Elon route. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sure that wasn't given special attention.
Well, he keeps saying he doesn't want mapping, so.
Well, with that, Patrick, any shout-outs for the end of the show?
Sure. I am with the Oregon Electric Vehicle Association. You can find us at oeva.org. And I also blog occasionally at carswithcords.net. Thanks.
Very good. Mr. Green, any announcements?
Yes. We are now at 1,100 subscribers.
Yay! Congratulations, Casey.
Thank you, everybody. And with that, I did release, I think, 3 new videos this weekend. We've got the latest software update that isn't the 4D, the 2020.40.8, and we've got a Supercharger review or 2, and we've got a lot of stuff out there. So go visit youtube.com/Casey Green. That's KACEYGREEN, and I want to thank you for that.
Fantastic. And if you haven't done so already, please give us a thumbs up right now. And if you haven't subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for, man. This deal doesn't get any better. It's free. You get a lot of fun. Yeah, you get to talk with us. Please do so. And send in your question for next week. 90 seconds or less. Record it. Send it to theteslalife@outlook.com. And we may play your question comment on next week's show.
Yeah,
thanks very much, everyone, and thank you, Lee Moon, for the music we're about to play on our outgoing. Here we go.
Thank you, Lee Moon.
Stay charged. Stay safe.
Good night, everyone.